Okay, we take a closer look now at President Obama's economic agenda in Silicon Valley with someone who knows him quite well. Christina Romer, she is the former chair of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. She's currently a professor of economics at UC Berkeley. Ms. Romer is also a Bloomberg contributing editor. We're so pleased to have her here. And she joins us now live from Berkeley. Good to see you, Professor Romer.
Oh, it's great to be with you.
So we're just talking, obviously, President making a visit here to Silicon Valley, not just for fundraising, although that is part of the agenda. Talk to me a little bit about, you obviously know what the President's economic agenda is. Just how important is technology as it relates to jobs, as it relates to the GDP?
Oh, it's incredibly important. If you look over time, technological change is the #1 driver of improvements in the standard of living. So it is incredibly important, and the President's obviously identified it as a place where he wants to make his mark and to try to help this economy be very productive in the future by stimulating innovation and technology. And certainly what he's coming to the Silicon Valley to do, I think, is to try to sell his agenda and to try to get some support for the ideas that he put into his budget. I think one of the things we notice is among Congress there's not much stomach for any additional spending, and so he's certainly got an uphill battle, and I think wants to marshal the business community behind him.
You know, what's interesting is during the President's State of the Union address, you and I spoke about this a little bit during the break now. I don't know if a former president has ever talked specifically about an individual technology, and President Obama mentioned sort of wireless technology, making that available to everyone as being a key part of his strategy. How does that figure into it?
So I think one of the things that is interesting is the way that the President has identified particular technologies like wireless, but he's also put such an emphasis on clean energy technologies. And I think one of the things that shows is part of the way that he is, you know, grounding his strategy really in economic theory is thinking about where there might be times when the private sector isn't doing as much of something as we think is useful. And those are both cases where a lot of the benefits of those technologies might not accrue to the individual firm doing the investing. And so that's a very legitimate role for government intervention. And I think that's a way he's thinking about this.
And then outside of a sort of a direct or short-term impact on the economy, clearly keeping people in the technology sector and keeping our edge as it relates to innovation is key. But tell me about some of your discussions with the President on that. Was there a fear on his part that we may lose that advantage as well? Certainly, you know, we talk quite a bit about China and sort of they're gaining on many countries now, and that's always a sort of a threat or a fear of many Americans.
Well, I mean, it certainly is an issue. I think, you know, one of the things certainly that I often tried to counsel the President is it's much less us versus them. That the reason you want to keep your competitive edge up, your innovative edge up, is because it's good for us, right? It makes us more productive. It makes our standards of living better. And so it certainly, you know, keeps us in the game in international trade. But fundamentally what it does is to make us better off. And that's, I think, the main reason for doing it. So I think if you go back to his State of the Union address, what he was really talking about is productivity. Why do you invest in education, in technology, in infrastructure? They're all things that will make us richer over time and make us a healthier, stronger economy. And I think that's the main reason for doing those things, rather than some fear that, you know, China's going to beat us. We should do this for ourselves.
All right, Professor Romer, thank you so much for joining us today. That was Christina Romer. She's professor at UC Berkeley and also a Bloomberg contributing editor.